Welcome back to the channel, 15-second reviews here, and today we're diving into, welcome traveler to a new adventure. Demeo Dungeons & Dragons Battlemarked. Nice. This is a tactical VR game releasing for the MetaQuest, Steam, and PS5, so it's available in both VR and flat screen. If you've ever wanted that classic D&D feel but in a slick, streamlined VR board game style, this could be a huge deal. And if you know anything about me, I love Demeo and tabletop style VR games in general, so I'm especially excited for this. Before we jump in and check out what makes this game special, I just want to send out a huge thank you to Resolution Games who sent me a build to try out the game in early access. So all the footage you're about to see is pre-release footage captured directly from the MetaQuest 3. Battlemarked is built on the Demeo Action Roleplaying System, meaning it takes a lot of what made Demeo great, the strategic turn-based gameplay, the card-based abilities, and gives it a full D&D treatment. But it isn't just a reskin, there's more narrative, more choice, and real storytelling. And while there were story elements included in the original Demeo game, they were more of an overview than an actual story, and this is completely different. With its simplified combat, you roll a special combat die that has just 3 results, a miss, a hit, or a critical hit. That helps keep the flow fast and understandable, while still feeling strategic, and without the typical overwhelming feeling you might get from more traditional tabletop games. The game is set in the Forgotten Realms. Your campaign will take you through places like Neverwinter Wood and Cragmaw Castle, and according to devs, there are multiple branching paths based on your decisions. I haven't been able to get into multiple playthroughs just yet, but from what I've seen in my initial campaign, choice does play a role, and characters can be customized to completely change how your campaign plays. In a fight, you and your party take turns. Each hero or champion has a hand of cards that represent their abilities. Things like spells, melee attacks, healing, and more. Your tactics will depend heavily on how you play your hand. When you use abilities, you spend them from your hand. And then on your turn, you move or you take other actions, all in that familiar Demeo grid-style environment. But because of the streamlined dice system, combat is quicker and more cinematic, which is perfect for VR.
Nice.
On top of that, there are choice-based storytelling moments between battles, branching dialogue, moral decisions.
Alright, examine the peace offering, but don't intimidate them, bro. That's not nice. They'll want to fight us.
And narrative beats that feel more like a D&D campaign, and for fans of D&D and Baldur's Gate 3, yes, there is a 20-sided die for skill checks, and I was actually giddy rolling it for the first time. You can experience Demeo with up to 4 people, which is super cool for a VR RPG. You and your friends can build a party, combine your abilities, and tackle dungeons together. If you don't have 4 players, there's a solo mode which allows you to play with a character of your choosing. The game recommends a party of 4, so you can also add hirelings to your party, which are extra characters you can control. Because of the narrative design, your group's decisions actually matter. Who you trust, which quests you do, and how you approach fights can change how the story unfolds. There was one instance in our playthrough where we discovered that one of the enemies was an imposter.
Is it gonna change?
Oh no.
What the hell?
But we were reprimanded for killing extra enemies before discovering the imposter. So I'm curious to see if in a follow-up playthrough, what would happen if we specifically targeted the imposter and don't injure any additional enemies? Would this completely change the outcome of the campaign? Would it add more allies to the outcome of the campaign? There's only one way to find out, and it'll be in our next playthrough. Battlemarked brings in classic D&D classes. At launch they have Wizard, Fighter, Bard, Paladin, Ranger, and Rogue, and each class has its own card pool and special abilities. For example, a Paladin or Fighter might have more frontline combat cards, while a Wizard leans into spells.
Ooh, come on, doubles, yeah!
Sick, get wrecked.
Because of the card-based system, you can build highly tactical combos depending on how you draw and when you play, making every run feel a little different. At launch, the game features 2 individual campaigns, stories set in different iconic D&D locations. According to the devs, there will be more content later, so your adventure doesn't have to end after the initial release. The branching narratives mean that each playthrough can feel fresh. You might make choices in Chapter 1 that ripple out later in the campaign. And because it's turn-based and card-driven, there's a lot of strategic depth. Plus, campaign mode combined with tactical combat makes it great for both short sessions and longer dungeon runs. And thank goodness there is a save option at launch, so you're not forced into completing an entire level in one run. From what I've seen, the game has a beautiful tabletop aesthetic, miniatures, atmospheric effects, and meticulously detailed environments. The UI is clean and very Demeo-esque, so if you've played Demeo before, it'll feel familiar but a little more polished. The one complaint I have though is the distinct lack of miniature animations. While I love the aesthetic of the miniatures, I think bringing them into VR should include some animation, other than just bobbing along the table when they move or attack. Playing in VR, interacting with cards, moving your heroes, triggering abilities, it all feels very natural. The streamlined dice system also helps everything feel fast, without losing that tactile feeling of a tabletop RPG. So, here are some pros I'm excited about. Rich narrative and meaningful choice making. Cooperative play with up to 4 players. Strategic but accessible combat. Replayability through branching campaign structure. And now, some potential cons. Because it's more narrative-based, the choices are relatively limited, so it might feel less like pure tabletop for veteran D&D players, or people used to an experience like Baldur's Gate. The streamlined combat, while amazing for newcomers, might feel a little bit too simplified for purists who love deep D&D mechanics. The lack of animations is a drawback for me, but to be honest, I think they make up for it with the level of detail in the characters, environments, and effects. I mean, look at this fireball explosion. So for my final verdict, Demeo Dungeons & Dragons Battlemarked looks like a tactical, narrative-first VR board game meets D&D. It's not just another dungeon crawler, there's real player choice, solid combat, and the potential for long-term replay. I'm super hyped to dig deeper, and I thoroughly enjoyed my playthrough. If you're a fan of tabletop games or even turn-based strategy games, Demeo Battlemarked is definitely worth checking out. Thanks for watching my overview of Demeo Dungeons & Dragons Battlemarked. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more VR deep dives, and let me know in the comments which class you want to try first. Fighter, rogue, wizard, or something else. I'll be dropping a full gameplay series once Battlemarked officially releases, so stay tuned. Until next time, may your dice roll true and your adventures be legendary.